Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second ever live stream on the Newcastle Jets Football Podcast channel. Today, I am lucky enough to be joined by Josh from Crossbar Capers and Newcastle Jets Men's head coach Rob Stanton. Josh, to you first. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
Thanks for having me, mate. It's good to be on the nice, relaxing side of things for once. So, yeah, happy to be here, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. And for you, Rob, how have you been and how was your Christmas?
It was a quiet Christmas. Got to see the family, the kids, which was nice, and some extended family, which I hadn't seen for a while. But it's nice to be back. We're back at work. It was quick, but it was one of those ones where we got to spend Christmas Day and not have to train, which is a first for a lot of us. So, I enjoyed it.
Well, let's get straight into it. Firstly, before we get into some other things, I want to talk about the weekend's win. How much is that huge is that for us against a struggling Western United team, and also to get the win at home?
Yeah, I think if I look back on our 4 home games, that was the 4th one. I think some of the performances, I feel the performances have been quite good without getting any reward. I thought the game against Wanderers was a really good game. I thought it was a game we could have won comfortably, but obviously we were still finding our feet in the competition with such a young group. I thought against Perth, we were comfortable, made some mistakes, and then had to fight our way back, which was good. And I think Melbourne City was our toughest one against quality opposition, but I was actually pleased with large sums of that game. And then the game against Western, I think, just was a building of some good performances and getting the right result in front of the fans. So that was rewarding, and just happened to come just before New Year's Eve for end of the year for all the fans. So that was exciting for them. And I think I was really pleased with the effort from the players and the commitment and the attitude.
Well, just touching on that game, obviously Reno Piscopo was out, which meant Trent Bahaja come into the side. How happy are you for him to not only get the win, but to grab 2 goals? That must give him a confidence boost.
Yeah, Trent's a really good guy. He works hard. He's quiet. He's got some really good skill set in the sense that he makes really good forward movements, and that's something in football that you need to have people who make a lot of unselfish runs. And when he explodes. Sometimes he gets in front and he doesn't hit the target where he wants to. But in that game, once he hit the first one, the second one came. He was probably unlucky not to have a hat-trick, even a 4th from a set piece. Very, very happy for him because he works really hard. He's had a couple of good assists. And it's great to see when you lose a player, another player steps up and takes control and gets the goals for us. So happy for him, happy for the team. Really, really pleased for him.
Well, you just touched on Trent Bahaja coming in. Obviously, Reno Piscopo, another injury, which is terrible. He's obviously had a huge run of injuries. Is there any chance you could give us an update on where Reno's at? And can he obviously, it doesn't look like he'll feature tomorrow night, but will he feature the next coming week?
Yeah, he's with his previous injury, he went for an extensive rehab program. We changed the way we rehabbed him and returned to play. So we needed to rebuild him from scratch. So they basically stripped him back and went right through everything about him and rebuilt him. So when he got injured again, what should have normally in the past would keep him out for a longer period, he's probably very unlucky not to be close to be included this week because he hasn't trained enough. But I would say next week he would be a good chance. So that means the turnaround's a lot quicker than what he has been in the past, which means the way they've rebuilt him and built his body back is a really good sign. So I'm happy that not happy that he got injured, but happy the way he's responded with that. Whereas in the past, this would be a different story. So it's actually, I expect him to be available next week to be able to play in some capacity, and it'll be determined how much we decide to use him. But at this stage, I think he'll get through all the training next week and be ready to play, or ready to participate, which I'm really happy about. We have a very busy schedule in January, so we'll need to rethink how we play and who starts and things like that. So, yeah, it'll be good to have him back. Perfect timing.
Just for yourself, obviously, at Sydney FC, you've now taken on the head coach role. How have you adapted to, a new role, a new environment? How have you adapted to this role of being head coach of an A-League team?
Yeah, when you're an assistant coach, it's actually it's good if you're working for a coach like I was with Steve, and I also worked under Graham Arnold. They were very, very good at their leadership style. So that was one thing I learned from them. So I was able to learn and observe them, work closely with them, and able to apply some of the things they applied with my own sort of style as well. So that's been really good to be able to work with those guys, and then come in, and when you get your opportunity, you have a really good foundation on how you want to lead and how you want to build your team, what identity you want to create, how you want to be portrayed yourself. So you learn all that when you're working with really good coaches in Graham and Steve. So I was fortunate enough there. So coming in has been a smoother transition for myself, because I've actually been coaching for quite a long time, and I have been a head coach at various levels. But yeah, your first head coaching role with an A-League team, I think Newcastle's been a really, really good location to go to. Unique in the sense, I think if you can get it right, there's a lot of people in the region that really love the game, want to see passionate, committed football, committed people. So that suits my personality and the way I want to do things as well. So I found that well to try and connect there with the people. And as I said, the things I've learned from my time at Sydney and coaching, I've been able to relay and apply in my own style and get my messages across as clearly and thoroughly as I can. So I found it okay. It's the odd thing with being a head coach, everything sort of stops with you. So responsibility always will sit on your shoulders, and I'm comfortable with that. And provided that, we get the structures right, we get the culture right, which we've been working really hard, and we connect in the right frame by playing the right style of football, and that's an ongoing thing as well. So yeah, I've been very pleased with the way I've gone about it so far.
Well, I'm sure being a coach isn't easy, but what sort of things do you do away from football? Obviously, living here in Newcastle, do you get to the beach much, or what sort of do you do away from football?
If I'm being honest, I haven't done a great deal in 6 months since I've been here, other than football, to be honest. I've probably just started to sleep a lot more consistently. The first 5 months, it was quite hectic. Even today, I've had things to deal with when I've got home. I generally sort of go to the gym. I might watch a little bit of TV. If there's a series on, I think I've been to the beach once. So yeah, it's just a little bit. I haven't really settled in that area socially. That's something I haven't done. Every now and then during the week, some of the staff will get a bite to eat, try a couple of places, local places, just to have a meal and that. So that's very casual when we do that. But other than that, very, very restricted, unfortunately. It's just a very consuming role. You have to really commit to it if you want to be successful, I think. And it's 24/7, because there's always an issue that pops up, whether it's football related or non-football related, and it doesn't allow you to actually switch off. So it's a draining role, a rewarding role, because you get to work with good people and good players, and that's the part that I really like the most. Is so that's the relaxation side of it's a bit limited.
Well, me and Josh were discussing last night, just again on the injury list, Jacob Dowse. I've heard a few things about surgery. I'm not too sure if I'm correct in saying so. Could you provide an update on, where Jacob's at the moment?
Yeah, we're hoping to avoid surgery at this stage. He has a history of some issues with his knees. He's had a torrid run. I think he went for a period where he got back on the pitch. Obviously, last year he was playing in Perth, and he was going well. He was a little bit behind when he first got here, and once he started to build up, he had a couple of issues with his knee, and it's been sort of ongoing, which has put him out, unfortunately. So we're trying to rethink his rehab as well. Surgery is an option, but there's a long-term side effect to that because of all the surgeries he's had. So that we're trying to put his best interests first and foremost. So we're trying to rehab him, see how he comes back without surgery. Surgery for me, I think should be the last resort for him, because it's a meniscus at the moment, I think, as well. So if you take the meniscus out, it'll solve it for the time being, but there's just sort of a long-term side effect, which is something we're not sort of, for his benefit, want to go down. So he's running at the moment. He's doing some sessions away from the team. He's isolated. So I think he's still a little while before we incorporate him back into team actions. This will probably be a big test. If it doesn't work, then he will have to have surgery, and then we'll have to relook at that again with him. But the unfortunate thing for that is mentally it can be draining on people, and especially Jacob. So to be fair, he's shown really good spirits at training. He's a well-liked guy in the change room as well. Hopefully for him, he doesn't have to have surgery, and he'll be back. I don't have an exact timeline, but hopefully at some stage he'll be back before the season's out, where he'll get some minutes and we'll see him play, because again, everyone's a valued team member and we're going to need everyone on deck at some stage.
Well, we have a question here from Newcastle Jets fans. He's asked, Rob, you have talked about being through local talent, some of them being training with the first team. Which youth players are impressing you?
Well, we've had quite a few come through. So today we had about 6 players on pitch. Yesterday we had about 7. Well, I've had about 3 boys that were with the youth team last year. They're a little bit older. Berchinello, young James, and also Bracco. They're 3, the little bit older that were involved with the youth team last year. They've been training pretty much full time with us. So they've been going quite well. Then we've got a second group that have joined the really younger group that have become part of the men's NPL team. Dobson, Nunes, Rafferty, guys like that are training. Dawson, Van Dawson. There's quite a few of them involved in the first team there that are quite young, and they've been coming in and doing sessions with us as well. So we're slowly integrating them with training sessions. The younger ones are probably a little bit further away, but in saying that, at some stage, one or two, there might be a surprise before the year's out with 1 or 2 of them. We might lose a few players in international break with the Olyroos, and that might open up some opportunities. But the first step is to get them training on a regular basis, and we've already started to see them grow, integrate some gym programs. Damien's doing a really, really good job. He's organised that. Damien's on pitch every day, so the communication on the players coming through and what talent, who he thinks we need to bring through, and with the training. So we do that. We communicate that every day, which is good. So I'm pleased with the way we've set it up. It'll be really good to see how the really young ones go in the men's competition, because a lot of them are going from 16 and 18s straight into first grade. We're going to skip 20s and things like that. They'll drop down and play 20s at time, but we want to test them and see if we can develop them a little bit quicker and a little bit younger. But we also need to make sure athletically they're developed, physically they're developed, and they're at the right maturation period. But the only way to do that is integrate them slowly into training, which we're doing. And yeah, I'm excited. I like to see young talent all the time. That's one of the things I like to see. And what you find is, over time, if you expose them enough, they start to believe they'll be A-League players, and then when they get their chance, they're ready to go to have a crack. So yeah, there is a group coming through, and we're just managing that until the right moment comes and they're ready to go, and we'll look to see which ones will get an opportunity.
Just a quick one. Sorry, mate.
No.
In regards to, we've seen over the last couple of weeks in the media and so forth, some of the international Australian internationals overseas playing in Scotland and so forth, possibly looking to come back to get game time and some minutes. Transfer window, is that an option? Are you possibly looking that way, or?
I never close the door on anything. I think for us, it'd be financial, and we'd probably have to release players, or players would have to go to bring players in because of your playing roster. You're restricted there. So It's probably highly unlikely we're going to actually get anyone in at this stage. But once you get to that deadline, things can change rapidly and pop up, and something could change very quickly. So I'm not going to rule it out, but at this stage, we haven't planned any transfers or any changes at this stage, mainly due to a bit of uncertainty of where we're going to head as a club at this stage. And also, financially, our expenditure on players is already been done. So we have a really restrictive budget to make sure we stick with that. But look, anything can change. Look, you can always, there's always going to be changes, chopping and changing at stages at various clubs. But again, that is something we haven't really had a deep discussion about at this point. We're more or less focused at this point. We're looking into recruitment for next year as well. So this is an ongoing thing that goes on during the whole year. So, recruiting, retention and recruitment is something is ongoing. And that's while I'm coaching, I'm having to go through this process as well to make sure that, come next year, when we're ready to go again, we're all set up. So we have a development side happening with younger players. We have the current squad managing that. We have what might happen in the future. Obviously, there's some ownership things happening at the moment as well. That'll have a bearing on direction and vision of the club, and that'll be discussed when the new owners come in. And when that happens, they'll relay what the vision is there as well. So, there's a lot of things to take care of. At the moment, to be fair, I'm actually really pleased with the squad. I think we have the ability to improve even more. I think the way we've been training and the way the direction and the growth of the players individually and as a group, I think we've surprised a few people. We're not surprised, the staff and that. We're working really hard. We can see huge potential. And then unfortunately others can too. So where this retention element is going to be difficult because others will see the change in some players as well. So, that's another issue we have to deal with as well. So, but that's part of the game, that happens everywhere in the world. I look at it in two ways. If I want people that want to be here at the club, and if not, I'll find people that either from in the region or outside, the best I can bring in, that's going to develop within the model of the club, the vision of the club, and the playing style and how we want to play. So I think we've had a balance of that this year. And I think, I'd like to think there's a talent here in Newcastle. I can see talent, and it's just how long you can develop it. Because if you've got talent in your backyard, it helps a lot with recruitment because they're already here. They already understand the culture and they understand what it means to play for Newcastle. So there's strong point there to develop players. And that's a part of my focus that's happening away from what I'm doing now that no one's really seeing other than Damien, myself, and the people involved in the club.
Yeah. And I think there's definitely no secret at the moment with, plenty of talks of Natter and Taylor. They're definitely being watched at the moment. And to be perfectly honest, there's absolute, reason for it. Those boys are playing fabulous football. I think
there's a few others as well. I'm not upset. I think, there might be a few surprises when the Olyroos squad gets announced. There might be a few players from Newcastle. We might have a large amount of players in the squad potentially. You can look at it two ways. If they're in the shop window, we may lose players at various times during the season. That means we're doing a good job of what we're doing. We're doing an actually good job. They're getting recognised. If they move on next year, we're a good destination for some best young talent, where it means we're developing players well. So it means players that are coming through the system that we've restructured now in the next couple of years will have, I feel, good training, good preparation. We're going to try and expose those ones younger and see if we can fast track them without damaging anything involved in their maturation and their physical development. So we're trying to make sure we get that right. We don't want another case, a similar case where someone like Archie, who come in at a really young age and probably whether it was didn't do enough physical preparation or wasn't actually the maturation period wasn't really kicked in yet. We need to be mindful of that because, we don't want to damage any of the boys. But, I'm seeing some really good signs with them and, it's exciting and they're only going to get better.
I think that's the biggest thing as well, that, unfortunately, some of the diehard fans don't really get, it's a business. At the end of the day, as you said, we're struggling financially. And if we can offload 2 youngsters that, are absolutely killing it and they've got absolutely everything out of it to be in this window of overseas talent, our clubs and that looking at them, well, at the end of the day, we're going to get money for it and we've done our job. And as you said, it's going to bring youngsters through going, this is the place to be. It's working.
Yeah, I think so. You prefer not to lose them to A-League clubs, other clubs if you've worked on them. So, I mean, that is a real possibility. We can lose players to other A-League clubs. That's going to happen. The idea is to develop, have in the background more players, have observe and know where talent is as well. Maybe have the right balance of experienced players to help them come through. There's a lot of things, and you know what? If you get it all kind of right, you can be successful. I think, fair. Mariners have done probably a really good job recently of getting things well balanced and getting it well and had some success. The idea when you go down this path, you want to try and make it sustainable. So to make something like this sustainable, you have to underpin it with something. I believe it has to be our program underpinning it, and then you try and pick others from outside. So it's not just all outsiders coming in. It has to be balanced. You have to satisfy all parties, which means fans, locals, other fans that maybe not so local that like the club, that support the club. You have to think about the brand, the product, the club. We want to grow the club further. And sustainability of the club is really important as well. So making sure financially we're not overcommitted, we don't get into issues. For me, what that means for me and my staff, we have to coach better. We have to work harder. We have to be patient. We have to, improve people. We have to improve staff. We have to improve players, and you have to maximize the resources that you have to get the outcome. So I actually like it because it's really challenging, and that's the big reason why I came here, was to feel uncomfortable and then try and build something that makes me more comfortable. So for me, that was the big reason, to be honest. So, and I'm really happy where we're going. So,
and so you should be, to be perfectly honest. The results, haven't gone our way every week. We've fallen short, obviously, at the end of some games as well. It was good on the weekend to see the boys grind out the victory and hold it. Yeah, some people will say it was only Western United and they're struggling, but when you go down to 10 men,
I think the 10 men is a thing that really highlighted one. And if you're big on statistics, there's a lot of stuff out there on teams. They actually create one of the highest expected goals, which means at some stage they're going to start scoring goals and winning football matches, which means they're actually doing things not too bad. For whatever reason, if you look at the team at the top, they're actually creating the least amount of chances. So if you look at stats, the stats suggest that the ladder is all wrong in some capacity. So at some stage, those things will change. And what you find is teams that you think you should be getting points become very, very difficult. And I'm sure a lot of clubs have looked at us and said we should get 3 points at Newcastle, and we've become very, very difficult for other teams as well. So it's very, very hard to get 3 points. It's very, very hard to keep a clean sheet. It's very hard to win games when your budget is less. So I go back and say we have to coach better, we have to prepare better, we have to develop people a hell of a lot better, and that's what we've been working on. So, it's good, and I think if you look at the table where we are and the team coming fourth, it's 3 points. That's seven teams, 3 points difference, which means we have a very, very close competition.
Yeah, just touching on obviously the defense. Obviously, all games that we've won this season, we've conceded 0 goals. You must be pleased with that, especially with such a young back line. Lucas Moragas, Mark Natter. You must be pretty pleased to get that many clean sheets.
Very happy. I think my keeper coach told me we only had kept three clean sheets last year, so we've matched that target. So I'm expecting to at least double that, and add a couple more would be our target, at least between 6 and 8 clean sheets. If you keep a clean sheet, you're not losing. That's a good starting point. I'm really happy with that, because to keep a clean sheet means we're defending really, really well. And the old saying, defenses can win championships, is you're not wrong. So we're trying to reduce the amount of goals we concede. That's something we've been working really hard, and the detail there, the players have really bought into that, and I'm pretty happy with the effort of everyone and the work being put into the playing group to achieve that.
Well, ahead of tomorrow night, it should be a very interesting clash. Obviously, plenty of talking points heading into the game from both sides. Just firstly, Apostolos Stamatopoulos obviously out with that red card last week. I know you can't share too much about lineups, but how do you approach this game, and what's the plan, and how do you analyse Macarthur? What do you make of them?
Macarthur, I think Macarthur are quite a good team. I think watching them, they have a creative side to them. They have some talented players. They're a well-balanced team. Like all teams, there's strengths and weaknesses. De Villiers is a really, really terrific player. He's really the guy that makes them tick. But there's some other really good players there. I like Jake Coleman. He was at Sydney. I watched that kid grow up as a young kid. I think he's a really, really good player. So they've got some great young players in Drew as well. Young Rose has been there now for a little while. He's very direct. Jermaine, the striker, is interesting character, and very, very skillful player, technically really good. They've got a good mobile engine room. Look, they're a good team. They've had a little bit of bad luck, or poor, like their performances have dropped in the last 3 games, but we've seen that with a lot of teams, and I think we lost 2 in a row. So it happens, and that they're probably going to be really difficult tomorrow because of that. They're going to be extremely desperate, and that's probably the biggest concern, is the desperation they're going to apply tomorrow because of the 3 losses. So we faced that against Adelaide. We've also faced that against Western. It's difficult because they're more alert, they're more on point, because of they know they've got to get 3 points. So it's like I said, I think they're a good team. They've had to deal with AFC Cup as well, so that's been new for them. So they've had travel, maybe a bit of accumulation of travel over the 20 odd weeks has maybe hit them a little bit. So hopefully that might work to our favour. But again, tough team. We played them in pre-season. I think we played an extra 45 minutes. It was quite high scoring, 4-3. So I'm looking forward to it. I think they're a decent team.
Yeah. The one for me, obviously, with AP out, Archie. Can we expect to see him maybe getting a little bit more? I know you were very heavily on the 30 minutes. And so forth. Are we looking at maybe starting to stretch that out a little bit as the season?
Yeah, we will. Sometimes it's been a bit tactical as well. If the other players who I've started, they're quite strong players. They need to be on the pitch as well, because their input's been good. If you look at Trent and Stammer, in pre-season they were very good. Between them they scored, I think, 13 goals. So I didn't want to play around too much with that as well. When Rene came back, it gave us a different dimension. And the fact that Archie, with his history, capping him, he is eligible to play more minutes. I think up to 45 we can use him for. He's been getting 30 plus injury time, so it's been roughly about 36, 37 some games. So he's not far off the 45 anyway. The thing now is I do have the option, if I need to make a tactical change at halftime, I can make that. If I was to start him at this point, I'd have to take him off, and if he's doing really well, I think that is probably a bad look. So at this point, if he's getting on at the 30, it's actually 35, 36 with injury time. So he's getting good minutes. And look, to be honest, I did contemplate last week until we got the red card to maybe look at a little bit earlier. I saw an opportunity where I felt he was going to put the nail in the coffin for us if he come on at around, 55, sort of a little bit earlier sort of thing, 50 minutes. That was something I was considering because I could see it was made for him to come on. But then we had the red card, and then in the end, I still made the change. But he was isolated. He still got his chance. Unfortunately, he didn't score it, but he still got that chance, which I was really happy with. But yeah, look, my main thing with Archie is that my focus is to make sure that he's available for every single game till the end of the year. And if that means manage him to the max that I have to, and he's involved in every game or available, I think that's the best outcome. Anything other than that for me is a bonus. But I do see him playing at some stage, and those minutes will come. More minutes should come in the next 3 to 4 weeks. You'll see a few more minutes. And again, sometimes it's tactical. He's a great change up to bring on. I like young Vidic as well. I like them two as a double change. I think there's might be some good chemistry there between those two. They're same age. They're both really strong. They have different attributes. One's more off the line. One's more in behind. They both know where the goal is, which is really good for number 9s, obviously. Both have been training the house down as well. So, they're a good option as well. I think that's something down the track in the future. That's exciting as well. Trent and Stem has been exciting, and also obviously when Reno's there, it's a whole different concept on our structure. So there's plenty of change ups, which is good. How we manage each player, all of them have pretty much been in the squad at some stage or consistently even together in the same squad, which means we've approached games with a really attacking bench, which is something that I've kind of been excited about. So enabled me to give some change ups when we need to. And look, I'm just happy he's playing, to be honest. I really am. And from the outsider, you can think, oh yeah, he should be playing more, but he's had some serious issues, and I'm going to make sure that he's there for every game to the end of the year.
I'm sure you were like most of us, me included. When he sort of went down on the weekend, popped a bit of a heavy knock there. I was like, hope he gets up.
I didn't feel good at that moment. I had grave concerns, but he jumped straight up. Yeah. He's becoming a resilient kid again, like physically. He says he feels super strong. He says he can go heaps more, which I know he can. And sometimes I've actually got to hold him back for his own good, because a big hit, with his history, it's not the hard work he does. He could sit on the lounge and get off the lounge and just feel it in his back, and then it's gone. And it's got nothing to do with. It's just that we've got to slowly build this, make him this resilient, durable athlete. My conversations with him, he'd like to play overseas one day. And, if you're going to play overseas, your resume needs to show consistency. It needs and being on the pitch, regular goals and things like that. So, we're starting to get that on his resume, good minutes on the pitch. He'll start scoring more goals. I believe he will get some goals. He could easily have 3 goals, no problems. No problems. He could have 3 goals, maybe even 4. So he's an exciting kid. He'll play regular. He'll be back playing. Heaps more time. That's one of the things I want to do. Make sure he does play more. But I want to make sure he can reproduce it consistently. So, yeah, it's a challenge. Like I said, there's a lot of negativity around it, but I'm going to hold strong on that. because that's my job.
But at the end of the day, mate, he's there's definitely ambitions. He wants to play for Australia and stuff like that.
100%.
So at the end of the day, baby steps to a long lasting.
He's a local. He's local. These are the things. Local. He is becoming, or is for the young kids, someone to look up to already at a young age. So if he's going to be a great example of what a local talent can achieve. If you go back a long time, and it's a big comparison, but Craig Johnson was a local kid who went overseas and made it big. So Archie is at the Jets, is in the eyes of all the young kids. So they all see him. We want to make sure that he can fulfill that and set a good example as well for the next generation to inspire them. So, there's a big thing on his shoulders. For a young kid, he handles that really, really well. And I don't want to put that an end because we get a bit excited. And, you got to look at it. He's 19. Vidic is 19. He's got 2 appearances. Clayton Taylor's just broke in this year. He's 19. So Archie's had all this time, and he's already. So he's at the right time. So it's at least it's starting to happen. So I'm excited, and like I said, he's a big role model for all these kids. And it could set off another group of kids in the future. I want to be like Archie. And before you know it, there's a group coming in the next 5-6 years, who knows, that are inspired. So, lot on his shoulders. He soaks it up because he's that type of kid. And my job is to make sure everyone gets to see him weekly.
Yeah, mate. Last one for me, because I know we're not going to hold you for too much longer. Just in talking about the youth, I think as I said, no disrespect to the older generation, Hoffies and Denkos and stuff like that, but for me, it's been great to watch the youth. Honestly, I think you've done fantastic work, you and the coaching staff, Damien Zane and the rest of the boys. So, yeah, mate.
Yeah. It's important. Yeah, look, it's a big staff effort. Like, the thing I saw was Damien's passion. I could see that he has aspirations. So I said to him, you need to do what I did, is that you need to be next to me all the time, like I was with Graham Arnold. And then when I become Steve's assistant and now I'm a head coach, I went through a long process. And then I was able to take what I saw and learnt and every day and, just collaborate between what's coming through, what you see, what you know, what I know, and we share that information. And then we build this. And then by doing that, the players that come up, they see that connection we have, and that go, they recognize that, they see the opportunity. So that's something really important. And again, I tell you, you need experienced players because they have to set the example. Hoff and Jenks have been in training, working hard, and you need a balance of senior players because there needs to be examples. You have to grow new leaders all the time, and you have to develop talent all the time, and you have to expose them, which is, for a coach, can be risky. But you know what? In the end of the day, everyone has a purpose, and my purpose is to develop people and players. So I can't help what I believe in, and I like to do that. So, and then you've also got to find ways to be successful as well, because in the end, people, they come to watch teams win as well. So, there's a tough part of that as well. But I like the pressure, and it's very exciting when Archie scores a goal. I can just see the excitement, when he comes on, and, Archie or anyone, I think Ryan Scott's been fantastic, mate. And everything I hear about Ryan was at Western, when you talk to the fans and that, unbelievable guy, and we've got some good boys there as well coming through in keeping, young stocks coming through. Bolo's got a heap of kids that he's monitoring as well. So, a lot of good things happening. You don't see it all the time. But everyone's working hard to ensure we have an on-flow in the future from all areas, from future coaching areas, from future player development, from recruitment, from retention, from creating more young internationals. It'd be great to eventually have a senior Socceroo come out of Newcastle Jets. I think that'll be fantastic in the future if we can achieve that as well. So lots of milestones we want to achieve. The history of Socceroos from Newcastle in the past was quite large. That hasn't been done for a while. It'd be nice to go back. We've had some really great guys here, guys like Bogues, Topper Stanley, Riggs. These guys who are, local heroes that are now retired, in the area. We need to find those characters, the new guys like that, who, spend good time here, who go overseas as well, maybe even make Socceroo appearances. I think Clayton Zane was one. I remember when he scored against France 1-0 when they beat France, but they were reigning world champions. He scored the winner. This is a long, back in the late 90s. Local boy, it'd be great to see that one day. So, there's a long way to get to that area, but we should always strive for milestones like that in the area, I think.
Absolutely. I think that, as I said, touching on Damien Zane quickly, like for me, I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in the NPL for a long time. He's won everything, and just the brain.
Even better guy, great human being. This is the one thing that we've connected. He's got great qualities as a human being. Generous all around guy, passionate. We have similar ideas on developing people, and real commitment to providing opportunities and helping people and things like that. So he's a well-liked guy, part of the staff.
Yep.
And he's his own boss in the youth team as well, which is what I've told him to be. You're the boss, you run it how you want, and you got my support, and we support each other to get the outcomes for the region.
And that's it. And then you look at blokes like Hoffy, obviously, as well, who, I've spoken to him numerous times personally, and, he's just happy. He's just great, happy to be around the boys. You know what I mean? Like,
you can see that too. Yeah, look, he trains like he's 21. He works hard. And it's hard. As you get older, it's hard. When your body, and his body's been pretty good, but as you get older, it's very, very hard. And so you got to be an example. After football, if you want to stay in football, it's hard to find football people that stay in the game and contribute. So, there's always other areas where the club can grow further, where players that have played, he can be part of it, which is really what it should happen in the future, that the history is still flowing and known to everyone because people who have been part of it are still part of it. So that is something that, I think would be nice to see when we get stability on maybe ownership and things like that, and clarity on the vision of the owners and direction as well. So that'll all come, I'm sure that will all come in time, and they're things that I think the fans really want to know. So I'm sure when that happens, they'll elaborate that to everyone, and it'll be good.
Yeah, I think the last one for me, quickly, mate, before we hand it back to the host, is just at a possibility, possibly looking at like more open training sessions. Like I've been lucky enough to get down.
Yeah, I think at some stage, we can. The guy, as the fan group, I think if they were to put a request in, I have no issue with that. I think having an open training session is fine, mate. I do have open to coaches in the region. If a coach makes contact with me and wants to come in to observe training, no problems, mate. I'm open to that. I've done some presentations. I've presented to 100 coaches I'm open to that. If there's coaches that want to come up and give up their time, observe the training session, I'll happily answer some questions. If they ask what we're doing, we're pretty open about helping coaches and also not only coaches, but, if we make a specific day where, if it's once a month or whatever, I'm open to that. Like I said, as long as the connection's good, long as, the fans are there to support the players. There's always social media stuff where you see, I don't read a lot, but, if you put yourself in the shoes of a player he works very hard, and his job is judged socially, on not only socially, but by viewers on TV, and is always governed by the outcome. And it's not a normal job. It can have a capacity on that individual. So the maximum support you can give that player or person, it can benefit the outcomes for him and the team. And if it's positive, it can be great. If it's negative, it can be damaging. And unfortunately, we're in a society where things are not the same as what it was 20 years ago. So we try and do things really well. We try and support everyone. So the fans have a big role there, massive role. I thought we had a great crowd, to be honest, against Western. I thought that was an exceptional crowd against Western United, because that means that there's big potential if we continue to win games. That's really exciting. The crowd, I thought it was really good. I was actually very surprised. I was expecting a lower number. I'm really grateful to the people that came out. I mentioned that. I'll make sure our next home game, we give the same effort, the same commitment, and hopefully they'll come back again with a few more friends.
Just the last question for me before we wrap it up. What's been your favourite memory as a Jets coach so far this season?
You got yours?
That's you know what? That's a really good question. You've got me there. There's been a couple of good moments. I think from a game, I think the game against Wellington, there was a bit of pressure, and I think everything worked well that day. I think that was a really, really good moment. I think just overall, the first win was nice as well at home, because I think that was the one thing that we wanted to do for the fans. And the other thing, it's hard. I think it's yet to come. I think we've got some big moments, and I think there might be some other moments where I'll go, that's the one. So the first win's always nice. I think when you get your first win, it's a nice feeling, because you see the benefit. But the Wellington one was really good. It was everything worked well, and I was just super happy with everyone, the effort and the work we put into that game, because it just showed that you can win away against the best team and keep a clean sheet. It means that if you can find consistency, there's something really good there.
Well, that pretty much wraps it up. Firstly, thank you to everyone for tuning in, sending in questions. I really appreciate it. Josh, thank you for joining, and a special thank you to Rob for taking your time to talk to me and Josh today.
My pleasure. I hope you have a really good new year too, both of you. And anytime, I'm happy to chat. I appreciate you having me on as well.
Thank you.